Hi, and welcome back. A little while ago, the good folks at Leonardo AI reached out to me and said, would you like to get early access to a feature that has knocked the socks off of everyone who's seen it so far? And I'm like, yeah. And that's what we're doing today. I'm going to show you folks what this new feature does. The feature is called Alchemy. And what Alchemy does is it does several things. One, it gives your images a lot more detail. I mean, a huge amount of detail. Two, it gives the items a higher resolution. The default upscaling that you get when you just generate the image is 1.5. So if you do something at 1040, it's going to be upgraded by 50%. And you can even bump up the base resolution even more at by 2 times. And I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. There's also some other features that it does, and we'll get into those. Let me get into the system, show you guys what it's about, and give you some examples, and show you that this really does knock the socks off of people. Let's get into this. When you start off, you see this friendly screen, the one that you're actually used to using in Leonardo. However, there's a new button here called Alchemy. And what that does is it turns on some additional features. So if we click on this button, you then get things like high resolution. As I said before, if you're creating an image at 1024 by 768, it will multiply that by 1.5 to give you even greater resolution in the base generation. However, you can click on high resolution and it will bump that up from 1.5 times to 2 times, making even greater resolution from your base image. Then there's also expanded domain. And what expanded domain does, well, let me just read you the description here. It says, increases the creative range of generated images. When off, images are more likely to be aesthetically pleasing, but may not be as prompt adherent. When on, you may achieve greater prompt adherence, but you risk visual artifacts and anomalies going up. Basically what it does is, when it's off, you're giving the engine more flexibility to influence your image. When it's on, you're telling it, pay more attention to the prompt, less attention to the creativity. And it can mess some things up, but it's something you want to play with. I found that I prefer to have it off, but we'll give you examples of what it looks like on and what it looks like off. Then there's contrast boost. Now, contrast boost, what this does, according to the description, this will adjust the dynamic range of your image. The default is 1, but you may find reducing it is helpful depending on the subject matter. Where I found this useful, there are some models in here that use offset noise, such as Leonardo Diffusion and Dreamshaper 5 and 6. So what happens is when they use that, the images tend to be darker. So the contrast boost comes into play here, where it'll make the images more brighter and more vibrant. It's something you want to play with. I found that leaving it at 1 actually gets me some pretty darn good results, but we'll play around with it so you guys can see the differences. And then there's resonance. According to their description, the scale dictates how much detail is in the image and how prompt adherent it is. Higher numbers can create images that are extremely busy. Around 13 to 15 is a good balance. So this is a lot like the guidance slider that's normally in here, which, as you can see, is down here, but it's deactivated. So they actually deactivate guidance scale while you're using Alchemy, and they use resonance instead. Difference is in guidance, it has a much narrower range as to what you can allow the AI to take over and how prompt adherent it is. With resonance, you have a much wider scale of how it interacts with the various images, and we'll play around with that as well. All right, let's get into making some images. We're going to start off without turning on Alchemy, and so you can have a base reference to work from. So we're going to start off with this prompt and this negative prompt in the model Dreamshaper V6. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of the prompt or the negative prompt because they're not really relevant to this video. However, I will put them in the pinned comment so you guys have access to them and you can play with them yourself. Now that we have our prompt and our negative prompt in, we have our model chosen, and we're going to do it at a 3:4 aspect ratio, 640 by 832. So let's click on generate and see what we get. All right, so here we see the base image that we're working with. These are really nice images. These are what you would expect to get from a typical model like Dreamshaper. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to advanced settings and I'm going to say used fixed seed. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say view generation info, or copy seed rather. And I'm going to paste that by using the same seed, we're going to be looking at the same image as a baseline. So we're not generating brand new images that can throw off our tests here. So now we have our base image. And as you can see, one of the nice things that they've added since I last looked at this, I just want to point this out real quick, is this little pop-up menu when you hover over it. You can do things like you can do upscaling, you can do different types of upscaling, you can throw it into image to image, you can download the image, you can do unzoom beta, which is a new outpainting demo that they have. You can remove the background. You can do all kinds of things just right from here by clicking on those little pop-up menus. Very nice. I really like that feature. It makes it much simpler flow to use. Okay, we're going to turn on Alchemy. We're going to go down and we're going to adjust the resolution to make sure it's our same aspect of 2:3. And we're going to then just click on Generate with its default settings. We'll get into some of these cool settings here in just a moment, but let's just see the default. Okay, so as you can see, the images that it returned, much more detailed what we've seen before. Detail in this is just incredible. And they're a little on the dark side. That is something to be expected with Dreamshaper. I mean, this is with the contrast boost on. Without the contrast boost, let's see what it would look like. Turn that down to 0. I'll generate one more time. And as you can see, the images that you get here are fantastic. Although Dreamweaver does tend to do things a little on the dark side, which is why one of the models I like to use is RPG4. I find that gets me some fairly good results. We're going to keep the contrast boost off. We're going to keep the same resolution. We're going to use the same seed. And we're going to generate this now in RPG4. So as you can see, the images that we get here are significantly brighter than we got with Dreamweaver. And the detail on this is incredible. And just to be fair, I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to turn off Alchemy. And we're going to run this one more time, 2:3, same resolution. Click on Generate. And this is what you get in RPG4 with Alchemy turned off. There's a stark difference between this and this. I find that Alchemy pays a lot more attention to your prompts than regular RPG4 does. So let's turn back on Alchemy, and I want to go through a couple of the really cool things that Alchemy has added that I didn't go over before. No longer do you need to put brackets around things to make different prompts stand out more in the AI's mind. You don't need to do that anymore. You also don't need to add photograph types, and I'll get into that in just a second. The other thing is you no longer need to add a negative prompt. It will adhere to this much more than, as you can see, the typical RPG4 would. One of the other things that they have here is this button right here, which is different types of filters that you can put on the image. And we'll get into that in just a moment, but we'll go back here. We'll click on Generate just so we have a new fresh baseline to work with, still using the same seed. And as you can see here, again, the image that it returns is just wow. I mean, look at the detail on this. It's just stunning. And we can knock this up even further. Right now we're using the general filter type. One of my favorite ones to use from this is Ray Trace. Now we did in Ray Trace. Let's click on Generate again and watch the difference. So here's the one with Ray Traced on. And as you can see, it has a lot more depth to it. The lighting is a lot softer. Let's take another look at the one that we did here. I mean, this is nice, but the lighting is not as detailed as it is in the Ray Traced version. They said it would knock my socks off, and they were absolutely right. The detail, the lighting on here. I mean, we can change this now from Ray Trace to something like, we'll try photography. And we'll click on Generate and see what we get from there. Now, I'm not going to go into every one of these filters, because you guys will actually have a chance fairly soon to play with this yourself, and I want you to experience it. Now, again, here's the photograph version. Really, really nice. The detail in the hair here, the details around her, just an amazing image. It really looks great. I'm so pleased with this new method. And we're going to do one more. We're just going to go in here and we'll say anime. Just see what it comes up with there. Now, as you can see in the anime version, it modified the character to look a lot more anime-ish. The lighting is more anime-ish. The tones are more anime-ish. It really does a great job here. It's just phenomenal. Let's look at them side by side. Here's the anime one. Here's the 3D version. Let's look at them side by side. Here's the anime version. Here's the photography version. Here's the ray traced version. And here is the general version. So looking at them side by side, you can definitely see that there is a difference depending on which one of the filters you choose. I really do like the photography version and the ray trace version. Those just tend to stand out to me. But there's one more that I wanted to show you real quick. Let's just take a look at the 3D render. This one gave me some very cool results when I was playing with it earlier. So when you look at the 3D render one, as you can see, it adds a lot more depth to the character. But I mean, it's not 3D, but it definitely adds more depth to the image. It's a nice one to play with depending on the type of image that you're rendering. All right, so we're going to set this back to general, which is the default filter that it puts on it. And we're going to start playing around with this resonance feature. So for example, let's bump this up to say 20. We'll generate the image and we'll see what we get. All right, so at 20, you can see that it's starting to take a little bit of liberty with the background. Not entirely crazy, but now let's bump this up all the way up to 30. We'll generate that same image. And as you can see, the image has taken on a lot more busyness, a lot more, it's kind of faded a little bit. And we'll regenerate that same image just so you can see the difference between what contrast boost does and what it doesn't do. Okay, so again, Leonardo AI took the image in a completely different direction, and I really actually kind of like this one with the blue on there. But now let's go the opposite direction. Let's take that from 30 down to 10, and we'll just give some examples here. Click on Generate, and with this image, you can see that it is adhering to the prompt a lot more than the original one, or than the 20 or the 30 settings that we were using earlier. We'll generate one more at 2, which is the lowest setting, just so you can see the difference. As you can see, this looks really nice, but it doesn't have the same level of detail as the ones with the higher values. Let's look at them side by side. You can see the one that we set at 2, the one that we set at 10, the one that we set at 20, and the one that we set at 30. So I hope that gave you a great idea as to what the new Alchemy feature that's coming soon to Leonardo AI is all about. I mean, to me, it just took their images from great to amazing. It's something that I think is well worth trying out Leonardo AI for. Here's the information that I promised earlier in this video. The pricing. The Alchemy, when it's released, is going to be a premium feature only. So if you have a paid subscription to Leonardo AI, you'll get it. However, they will also be releasing a 1-week trial version of this to everybody on the free tier within their pricing structure. So you'll get a chance to play with it and decide for yourself, is this something that is worth you paying for their subscriptions? I didn't get any kind of pay from Leonardo AI on this. They did give me access to it, but aside from that, I was able to say anything and do anything I wanted with it, show it to you guys. So this is a completely unbiased review of this upcoming feature. I think it's amazing. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed that. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please do leave them down in the comments below, as I always love hearing from you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great one. Bye-bye.